Blood was streaming down 7-year-old Zaria's face, and Officer Reynolds froze. Baton still raised in his hand when the station door burst open. In marched Colonel Vanessa Wright, full military uniform, medals gleaming, her voice like steel as she pointed to the injured child. "That's my daughter. Before I take you into this story of prejudice, power, and a mother's fight for justice, let me ask you where you're watching from? Drop it in the comments. Hit the like button if you believe no child should ever be brutalized by those sworn to protect. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss stories like this." It was one of those perfect Memphis spring afternoons when Zaria skipped beside her Aunt Kesha through the Ridgeway Shopping Center. This was a treat. Her mom was usually busy with military duties, and trips to this affluent part of the city didn't happen often. "Can we get those rainbow sour candies, Auntie? The ones Mommy got me?" she asked, eyes bright, braids bouncing. Kesha smiled down at her niece. "Sure thing, baby. But remember what your mama said about too much sugar." They ducked into Park View Convenience. The store was quiet. Just the bored cashier scrolling his phone and a middle-aged white woman looking over vitamins. Zaria stretched on tiptoe, reaching for the bright package of candy, when the woman gasped, "My purse. It's gone." Her eyes locked immediately on Zaria and Kesha. "You took ITI, I know you did." Kesha pulled her niece close. "Ma'am, we just walked in. We haven't touched your things." But the cashier had already grabbed the phone, calling security. Within minutes, guards blocked the exit, and not long after, Officers Brent Reynolds and Thomas Miller stormed in. They didn't ask Kesha a single question. They didn't even check the security cameras. Instead, they separated her from Zaria. "Come with me, little girl," Miller said, gripping Zaria's small arm. "I want my auntie. I didn't do anything," she cried. Kesha tried to intervene. "She's 7 years old. You can't question her without me." Reynolds stepped between them. "If you're innocent, you have nothing to worry about." His tone said otherwise. Zaria twisted free and ran toward Kesha. And in that split second of a child running to safety, Reynolds swung. His baton connected with her head. The crack echoed. She collapsed, blood pooling on the linoleum. Kesha screamed, "Zaria!" Bystanders pulled out phones, some shouting, some begging to help. A doctor stepped forward. "Let me treat her." Reynolds blocked him. "Step back. Police matter." When the store manager timidly pointed out that cameras showed the woman's purse sitting in her own car, Reynolds barely reacted. He called for an ambulance, but still labeled Zaria a suspect. Kesha, cuffed on the floor, shouted desperately to a bystander, "Call my sister. Call Vanessa Wright." The moment Vanessa answered her secure line at Fort Liberty, she froze. The voice on the other end trembled. "Colonel, the police hit your daughter with a baton. She's unconscious. They arrested Kesha. They're taking her to Memphis General." For 3 long seconds, Vanessa didn't breathe. Then military discipline kicked in. "Thank you. Stay with my sister." 10 minutes later, she was in a car with Captain Davis at the wheel. "Hospital first or station?" he asked quietly. "Station," she said coldly. "Zaria's with paramedics. Kesha needs extraction." The police station buzzed with routine chatter until Vanessa entered, metals catching the fluorescent light. Conversations died mid-sentence. "I am Colonel Vanessa Wright, Commander of Special Operations at Fort Liberty," she announced. "You are detaining my sister under false pretenses. Release her immediately and direct me to Officers Reynolds and Miller, the ones who assaulted my daughter." Silence. Then, as if on cue, 2 officers walked out with Kesha between them, wrists cuffed. Behind them, Reynolds, baton at his belt, stained with blood. Vanessa's composure never cracked. "Remove those handcuffs. Now." The officer fumbled with his keys. Reynolds puffed out his chest. The child resisted. "It was accidental." Vanessa's voice dropped to a razor-sharp whisper. Quote me the protocol that authorizes striking a 7-year-old girl in the head with a baton. Chief Wilson rushed in, attempting damage control. Colonel Wright, this is an unfortunate incident. This is aggravated assault on a minor. Vanessa cut in. False arrest. Civil rights violations. My legal team is already on their way, as are the DOJ and the governor's office. Preserve every body cam and every communication. If you fail, I'll make sure federal auditors review every case in this department for the past decade. Her voice left no doubt. She wasn't bluffing. At the hospital, Vanessa finally reached her daughter. Zaria looked impossibly small in the oversized bed, a bandage covering half her head. Hey, baby girl, Vanessa whispered, brushing her hand over her daughter's. Mommy's here. The neurologist, Dr. Okafor, explained in clipped tones: skull fracture, traumatic brain injury, reconstructive surgery needed, long-term recovery likely, but the psychological scars could run deeper. Vanessa listened, face unreadable, every word hardening her resolve. Enter James Patterson, the civil rights attorney with decades of courtroom battles. He spread files across the hospital table. We've got bystander videos, unaltered security footage, and Reynolds's record 6 prior excessive force complaints, 4 involving black citizens, 2 involving minors, all buried. The system protects him. But this time, Colonel, you got leverage. Vanessa leaned forward. Then we fight. Phase 1, gather everything. Phase 2, apply pressure where it hurts. And that's exactly what she did. While sitting vigil by Zaria's bedside, Vanessa used every skill the military had honed in her intelligence gathering. Strategic planning, alliance building. Trusted veterans traced financial ties between the police chief and state politicians. Journalists received files too damning to ignore. Community leaders organized vigils outside the hospital, not protests the department could dismiss, but solemn, undeniable displays of public grief and outrage. The opposition tried to fight back. They dug up an old shoplifting charge against Kesha. They spread doctored photos of Zaria online, painting her as aggressive. They leaked whispers that Vanessa had abused her military power. None of it slowed her, because when you come after a soldier's child, you awaken more than a mother you awaken a commander. One night, Zaria woke trembling, crying that police were coming to hit her again. Vanessa taught her the same breathing exercises soldiers used to calm themselves under fire. She turned trauma into survival tools, showing her daughter how to fight fear. When Zaria finally asked, "Mommy, am I in trouble?" The police said I was bad. Vanessa whispered back, "No, baby, you did nothing wrong. They picked the wrong child." The system pushed back harder. Senator Wells tried to muzzle Vanessa by pressuring her chain of command. Chief Wilson ordered evidence tampered with. Reynolds himself grew reckless, even circling Vanessa's safe house drunk and armed only to be caught on multiple cameras ranting about keeping people like her in their place. That recording would become key evidence. When the Department of Justice launched a full investigation, everything unraveled. Chief Wilson resigned. Reynolds was arrested on federal charges. Senator Wells, once untouchable, faced corruption indictments tied to private prison kickbacks. And Vanessa? She was offered a promotion, cleared of every accusation. But standing over her daughter's hospital bed, she realized her mission wasn't just military anymore. It was systemic change. Months later, Memphis began transforming. A consent decree forced police reform. Civilian oversight boards with real authority were established. Vanessa created a foundation that turned abandoned lots into safe community gardens, spaces where children like Zaria could feel safe again. One Sunday evening, Zaria watered vegetables in the garden, scars fading but resilience glowing. She looked up at her mother. Mommy, do you think what happened to me will stop happening to other kids now? Vanessa paused, then answered honestly. Not completely, baby, but we've made it harder for them to hide, and we'll keep fighting until it's different. Zaria thought for a moment. That's good, because I don't want other kids to be that scared. Friends, that's the heart of this story. One mother's fury, sharpened by military precision, turned personal tragedy into systemic change. From trauma to transformation, from outrage to action, Vanessa showed that the fight for justice isn't won by outrage. Alanites won by strategy, persistence, and refusing to be silenced. So let me ask you, what would you do if the system designed to protect your family turned against your child? Have you ever stood up against injustice when it would have been easier to stay quiet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you believe no child should face violence at the hands of those sworn to protect, smash that like button. Subscribe for more stories that expose injustice and celebrate resilience. And share this with someone who needs to be reminded that justice is possible when we refuse to give up.